Okay, so let's dive in. We took a deep look at 12 biblical verses, picked totally at random.
Right, and cross-reference them using some really precise translations, like Young's literal.
Yeah, the idea was basically to see if these scattered texts actually, held together, if there was some kind of central theme.
And the amazing thing was, they really did. They clearly map out this single core conflict.
Which is pretty surprising, honestly. It sets up this whole question about the Book of Enoch.
Exactly. This whole analysis was geared towards figuring out where Enoch fits best in this proposed dominion order.
Ah, yes, the dominion order. Remind us.
It's the framework for a new textual version, a UTV, that prioritizes thematic flow. So not just grouping by genre like usual.
Got it. And those literal translations were key for seeing the repeated words, the connections.
Absolutely. And they showed this, well, this stark picture of what we call the pole of disorder.
Which seems to operate on, what, 3 different levels?
Yeah, 3 layers. The first one is really immediate, very personal, internal strife.
Like in Judges 12, where Ephraim threatens to bring Jephthah's house down.
Exactly that. Pride, jealousy, just fracturing the brotherhood right there. Chaos within the community.
And that internal stuff seems to trigger the next layer almost immediately.
It does. That's the external consequence. There's a direct link shown in the sources.
Judges 13 again. 40 years of servitude to the Philistines because Israel kept, quote, doing the evil thing.
Right. Internal choices leading straight to external subjugation. It's quite stark.
Wow. Okay, so internal strife, external consequences. What's the third layer?
The third is maybe the deepest. Internal collapse, really. Spiritual ignorance.
Like in Psalm 73, where the psalmist says he was brutish, like a beast, blind to God's truth.
Precisely. And it mirrors that idea in James, the person looking in the mirror.
And immediately forgetting what they saw, forgetting the truth about themselves.
Yes, self-forgetfulness, a kind of cognitive blindness, all part of this disorder pole.
Okay, so that's the chaos side pretty clearly defined. What about the opposite? What does order look like in these texts?
Well, the counterpoint seems to be this state of divinely granted rest. The Hebrew word is nuach.
Nuach, right. Not just absence of war, but like a settled peace.
Exactly. Foundational. Solomon in 1 Kings 5 says it's the absolute requirement for doing sacred work. No nuach, no temple building.
It's the necessary stable ground.
And that stability is then sort of visually reinforced by sacred structure.
Ah, like the high priest's garments in Exodus 28.
Yes, the gold, the blue, purple, scarlet. It's not just fancy clothes. It's like a symbolic vocabulary against chaos when approaching the divine.
A language of order. Okay.
And what was really fascinating was finding the link, the dynamic between these states, how you move from chaos to order.
Where did that show up?
We saw it in King Jehoram's story in 2 Chronicles 21. He had to pass over, the word is avar, his enemy encirclement.
Avar, Passover, like a transition.
Yet that action, that deliverance, it seems to function as a kind of narrative hinge point in the text we looked at.
Okay, so we've got the symptoms of chaos, the structure of order, and even the process of transition. But the why. Why is there all this disorder to begin with? Did the analysis point to a cause?
It really did. Because you're right, the standard canonical texts, they describe the state of things, the disorder, but they don't always spell out the origin story.
And that's where Enoch comes in.
That's exactly where Enoch comes in. Specifically chapters 6 through 16. It gives the origin.
All watchers, right? The supernatural beings who mess things up.
Yes. It details their transgression. Coming down, marrying human women, and crucially, teaching forbidden knowledge.
Like weapons, sorcery, things humanity wasn't ready for.
Exactly. Metallurgy for weapons, enchantments, specific kinds of astronomy, knowledge that corrupted.
Okay, now this gets really interesting. You're saying that specific event, that illicit transfer of knowledge,
is presented as the direct cause of the strife, the perversion, the brutish ignorance we saw reflected in all those random verses we started with.
It lines up.
It lines up perfectly. Enoch provides the foundational conflict story that explains the conditions described elsewhere.
So if we're trying to arrange the texts by theme, by cause and effect,
then Enoch needs thematic precedence.
Yeah.
Putting it much later, like in some traditionalists, well, it buries the lead, doesn't it? It hides the explanation.
Right. Which brings us to the final recommendation for this Dominion Order UTV.
Yeah, the analysis points quite strongly in one direction.
Yeah. The Book of Enoch needs to be placed immediately after the Book of Genesis.
That's the recommendation.
Yeah.
It establishes the core narrative logic. Genesis gives you creation and the initial human fall.
Then Enoch immediately explains the cosmic disruption that really sends things spiraling.
And then the rest of the canon unfolds as the story of God's plan to restore things. Creation, corruption, restoration.
So when you let the text's own internal logic guide the structure, the sequence kind of reorders itself.
It really does. It makes you see the connections differently.
Which I guess leaves a final thought for you, the listener.
Yeah, a question to maybe chew on. If the canonical order itself shapes how we understand cause and effect in this narrative, what other assumptions we hold might need a second look? What else might need rearranging if we really want to align with the text's internal logic?